Your boy is back. Dame. Subscribe to Dame's World if you haven't yet watching this. Be a part of this community. I'm sure you'll love it. And if you have subscribed, you already know what it is. What up? What up with you? Another video coming. Today's topic is centered around the Hong Kong protests that's been going on for a few months now. Hundreds of thousands of people out in the streets of Hong Kong and in other regions, in other continents. But predominantly hundreds of thousands of people in Hong Kong protesting what? And here's the key before I say what. When you see people out in the streets protesting, before you jump to conclusions, before you defame their name, before you throw slander, before you call them savages, looters, and all that good shit, ask yourself why they're doing it. Because usually protesters, they tend to have a reason. When you see Cap kneeling, don't just get out of here. Make them stand up. Don't just get angry. Ask yourself why they're doing it, and if their reason is justified. So what is Hong Kong protesting about? A proposed extradition law, which is one of the reasons. A proposed extradition law that would allow for the Hong Kong government to have criminal suspects, So people they suspect of criminals, so you already have profiling, to be extradited to somewhere in mainland China, which doesn't operate the way Hong Kong operates. Hong Kong is in China essentially, but it operates like its own country. So they govern themselves. So what type of bill is that? You're profiling people you think are criminal to be extradited from their homeland to be tried by somewhere foreign to their homeland. I can think of bills similar without the extradition. Stop and frisk. You're profiling potential criminals, but your potential criminals always look like the same people or have the same belief system. The protesters also said they believe that activists and people who are against the current structure, in which they feel their leader in Hong Kong is biased to mainland China, in which a lot of the protesters are also against, as far as how their own homeland is being essentially micromanaged by mainland China. They feel like their president or their leader is a puppet. So you have that, and not only do you have this, you have Americans chiming in. You have the Houston Rockets GM, Daryl Morey, tweeting in solidarity for the protesters. His tweet was, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." And immediately after that, the tweet got took down. He had to apologize. So now this is telling me something about NBA and our corporations with mainland China and their corporations. Yao Ming pulled his negotiations with the Rockets, whatever he had going with the Rockets, and you see the GM retracting his comments because it's bad for business. And then you have LeBron James making a public comment when he didn't have to say anything. So I feel like somebody made LeBron, the face of the NBA, get up there and reprimand Houston's GM for what he did and let China know that we still adhere, or mainland China know that we still rocking with them and we still want business to be booming. LeBron reprimands Rockets GM saying he's uninformed. All he said was stand with Hong Kong. As far as their protest for the extradition laws, as well as police brutality being broadcasted as rioters. And doesn't this sound so familiar? Police brutality, something we've gone through, black and brown, and being broadcasted as riots instead of protesters. When you check Fox, when you check CNN, CBS, they call us looters, rioters, protesters. I mean, not protesters, looters, rioters, savages, thugs. So they're essentially going through the same thing in Hong Kong as protesters. And They also want full universal suffrage and amnesty for protesters. So LeBron didn't share his information on the situation, yet he hopped out there and called somebody else uninformed and just said he was pretty much wrong. Well, LeBron, did you think to compare Hong Kong's situation to Colin Kaepernick's situation of injustice and protesting? Imagine if somebody on foreign soil said, well, stand with Cap, fight for, or Black Lives Matter, stand for Kaepernick. And then one of the main athletes in that country said, he was uninformed. He don't know what he really talking about to really say that. How would you feel? Put the shoe on the other foot. Don't just appeal to the black issues and the ones that hit home, because I heard LeBron say that too, like the ones that hit home. I feel that, but try to put the shoe on the other foot. Think about what you're saying. It contradicts your narrative of being for protesters and people who use their free, quote-unquote, free speech in a way that's dissident, against the social construct, against the paradigm. It contradicts your narrative being for Kaepernick situation, what you're doing right now. So it just begs the question for me, who's paying you? Nike in cohorts with China, NBA in cohorts with China, mainland China. So you have power structures behind how these people speak. And essentially they're playing puppet when you see LeBron get up there. When you see the Rockets GM express how he feels first, then has to retract his statement. That's the power structure behind it. That's the control system behind it. It's bigger than us citizens. We have to look past the control system because we still dealing with citizens. Like these hundreds of thousands of people telling us they finna impose a bullshit extradition law. That protest did something. That law got withdrawn. Shout out to the protesters. And I will not be impartial in this situation because that's the fact. They tried to impose an extradition law. They went out there and protested for that and more, which is police brutality, which I'm family with, and other atrocities going on in Hong Kong. And I don't know exactly what's going on out there, so I can't speak too much on it. But I do have the fact. I do have the fact of that matter. You feel me? So, essentially, LeBron, you're telling the GM, shut up and GM. When Laura Ingraham told you, shut up and dribble. You have to peep the parallel, man. So, as a human being with a brain, you yourself should be informed enough to say what's on your mind and not have people behind you making you do press interviews, denouncing somebody because it suits their agenda. Be a thinker yourself. And then you'll see that this situation in Hong Kong looks a lot like African American situation in America and a lot like Latin American situation with this whole ICE deal. So that's pretty much all I really got to say in regards to the whole situation. Like I said, I'll stand with Hong Kong based on that fact alone, that they're imposing laws to criminal suspects. In America, I'm the criminal suspect. Black with dreads. I promise you I fit the description 9 out of 10 times to these police. And I ain't did shit. So I understand the emotion behind somebody imposing something like that. I understand why you feel like you need to protest. So yeah, I'm with the Stand for Hong Kong, even though I don't know all the full politics, but I'm with the protesters who feel that way about that bill and police brutality and other things that they feel inconvenienced about. So that's just my take. It's your boy Dame. Don't shut up and dribble. Don't shut up and GM. Speak how you feel as an authentic individual. You don't just represent a corporation. You represent yourself.